So we got the island here. We're starting to millsplate it. It looks awfully colorful right now because we didn't have the parts to do so, but now we have the parts in stock, so we can millsplate this entire island. But before we do that, I've got to come up with a road system. This one here is already looking pretty good. There's like some curves and some angles, which I really do like. However, we've got to come up with another road system for the second island. In order to brick build roads for this island, we're gonna need a lot of dark gray brick. Luckily for us, I had some laying around and I put it in segments of 12. Just gonna start with a rough layout right now. It's looking rather squarish, but I just gotta get like the base layout constructed for these roads and have a ballpark idea as to where they're gonna go. Now these roads are gonna be one way, so what we're gonna do is actually create a loop that goes around the entire perimeter of the island, so it's almost like a coastal road that you'll commonly see along the coast. So the one-way roads, I think they can be 12 studs wide, but we also have to create a two-way road on either end of the island because that's going to be the entrance via the bridge that connects the two islands and also the exit where there's another bridge on the other side that sort of leads nowhere to a hypothetical other part of this city or another island or something like that. I decided the next best thing to do would be to fill in some of this white table space. So I decided to create a bunch of mills plates, just using the 16 by 16 green plates. They're all different shapes and sizes. So that's one island taken care of. Now it's time to take care of the next island. Some of them are 32 by 32, some are 64 by 32, and there's one that's just enormous. It is 3 by 3 base plates. I think that's the biggest plate I've ever created. Now there is some exposed colorful brick over here, so I'm just gonna fill that in with 16 by 16 plates, just because why not? I did it in the other areas, may as well fill that in as well. So just like that, I've filled in some major chunks using mills plates. However, we still have to use that mills technique to go up against the roads and also give those roads a more interesting shape. Like, look at that. That's not looking too good, but it feels good to just get some structure within this area. So the next thing I need to do is go through and stagger some of those dark bluish gray bricks because it looks like a square road at this point. So I just used like a trial and error random process and I went through and just sort of staggered them randomly. I think that's sort of giving us the rounded shape that we want these roads to have. We've got some interesting angles in there. We've got turns. And of course, we're still gonna have to better shape some of these roads using some smaller elements, and we're gonna have to mills plate up to the dark bluish gray brick. But you'll notice that there's some line breaks within the brick because I've sort of visualized and I've come up with which sections of base plates I want to be attached to one another because you can't build it as one giant section, and I still want this area to be modular. Now the thing is I can't move these sections because they're not tacked together. So the next thing that I need to do is tack them all together. And of course I'm gonna do that using a mills plate technique. So I'm starting in the far corner there and I'm gonna work just around the bend, just around the bend. I feel like that's something my parents used to tell me when we were on road trips. But I'm using 16 by 16 plates where I can use them because you don't have to use as much underlying brick when you use 16 by 16s compared to using 4 by 4s. So in the large sections, I'm filling them in as quickly as I can with the 16 by 16s. And then in the smaller sections, which are a little tighter against the road, I'm filling it in with the 4 by 4 plates. The only reason why I'm mills plating these particular plates right now is so that they all attach to one another. So then I can transport them and bring them up to my desk where I can work on refining the road using wedge plates and other pieces. So that's why you're gonna notice that those colorful bricks go up against the road, but I'm not continuing with the green all the way up against the dark bluish gray brick. Because some of that brick is going to have to be modified. We might have to change its position to accommodate the wedge plates, or we might actually have to add different bricks and plates to make sure that it stretches from end to end within the modules that it's sitting in, and to make sure that it actually has the proper shape, which looks like a curved or angled road. But you can see how many bricks and plates are going into just to mills plating this area, which for now is all green. But trust me when I say this, the dark gray and the green color is definitely gonna change. This is just like a base construction that we're trying to get down. And I think it's best to start with the roads, just because that's going to give us structure for the island. It's going to completely cover the islands. And then we can go from there with vegetation, more details, and of course, a bunch of different buildings. But whenever I'm building a Lego city, I always start with road construction. So I don't see why I would do anything different here when working on these islands. But just like that, we've done a pretty good job of framing those roads on this island here. So that's pretty sweet. Now that this side is done over here, I need to do the exact same thing to this side. With that complete, I can now work on each section of road individually because we need to add the wedge plates along the side of the road. We also need to add some more texture. And these roads here are actually two-way roads, so we need to increase the width of these ones because there's not a whole lot of space for two vehicles. Here's an example of one of the modules. This is the corner that's leading toward the bridge that goes nowhere. So what I'm doing is grabbing each segment of road and I'm changing it up. I'm adding some of the 1x2 palisade bricks and also some 1x1 cylinders, and that's adding just a little bit of texture, and I'm making sure that they're staggered properly so that we have like an angle or a curve. Sure, it looks a little bit squarish, but the wedge plates are going to help us round it out. So I'm filling in as close as I can to the road, but trying to leave like one stud open so that I can put wedge plates in there. And sometimes it might not work out with the road configuration, so I need to fill in little areas of the road with different dark bluish gray pieces, whether that be bricks, plates, or tiles. But this is a great example of the untreated road versus the treated road with the wedge plates. And now I need to do the exact same thing for all of these. And look at that, the difference is night and day. Really happy with the texture. Didn't want to go too crazy adding different colors and stuff like that. I think just using the palisade bricks and the cylinders really helped just add a little bit more detail. So that island there is complete. It used to be just straight up base plates. Now we have the integrated road. And next up, we've got to do the exact same thing over here. But as discussed earlier, we actually have to make some modifications to the road to accommodate the two-way traffic. These roads were actually completely rebuilt. They used to be 16 studs wide. Now they're 20 studs wide, minus the wedge plates that come onto the edge of the road. And we also changed the direction of them so that they match this road here. It's bricks going forward on their side. We thought that was easier because it actually lines up with the Lego mat or the Lego studs on the base plate, and it's just more consistent. So we have our corner coming off the causeway there, and then the angle leading toward island number 2. We also got rid of the parking lot here. That was not a finalized design, so just decided to make a new mills plate, which is on 2 48 by 48 base plates, just to fill that area in for now. Eventually there will be a new parking lot there, and you can gain access to that parking lot because there will be a T intersection right here. Did some more blending on the side of this road, did the road extender, extended the handrail there, and also tacked those down to a base plate, and then did more blending around the island with green and dark bluish gray brick. Now next up, we need to come up with a bridge design because we need 2 bridges, one right here, which is going to connect the 2 roads, and another over here leading to nowhere. This is the base construction for the bridge that will connect the 2 islands. I built it using arches, 2x plates, masonry bricks, and topped it with tiles. So I created 2 of these sections right here using 2 arches, so it's 2 studs wide. Those are connected using the 2x plates. And then I connected the 2 different sections together using the masonry bricks. The interior of the bridge matches the road width on island number 2, so it's 18 studs. It is 2 studs narrower than the roads that we constructed last there on island number 1, but this should fit between the 2 islands after I modify some of the rock work. I removed some of the rock work because it's going to get covered up anyway. I brought some of it back toward the islands to make space for the bridge foundation, and I also lowered it so we have that road height. The bridge is going to be topped with the same brick-built road. I don't see why it would be any different than the road found on both islands. And this panel right here should stretch end to end and rest on top of the bricks and some of the rock panels. And it's very easy to remove it. So if we need to make modifications to this area or work on the water, we can do so. The height of the road is virtually the same. It's off by like a half plate. I actually think that's sort of authentic. Usually when you go onto a bridge, it's like, so I think that makes sense. So that's all done. That looks pretty good right there. We've got the roads connected, and I did the exact same thing over here. Now this one, it does have an arch that just ends there. I decided not to bulk it up on the end because I bulked it up by 2 studs, but this one just comes to an end where the arches are because technically this bridge would continue. And it is tacked to the rockwork with these 1x8 tiles, so it keeps it all aligned. And I did end the masonry brick with slopes on either side. So on this bridge here, I used 1x2s, and on the bridge over here, I used 1x3s. Eventually, the causeway will be connected to this road plate over here. That's why I left those 1x4s open. But for now, I'll put some tiles there. The causeway is actually not tacked down because we have yet to do the water detail. This looks like a really nice place to get married. We've had this mock in our collection for quite some time, and I think its new home is going to be here on the island. The lighthouse used to be right there in front of that sailboat, but I think its new home is going to be right here in the corner. But it's official, everybody. Vehicles can now make their way from the Lego city over this railroad crossing, over the water via this causeway, entering onto island number 1, going over the bridge to island number 2, and then make their way around the one-way circuit or exit the island via another bridge. Here's a little before shot of the island, of course with no roads, bridges, or mills plates. And after, much, much, much better. There's still lots to do with this island project. We need to add some different heights to the land, blend in all the rocks, do all the water detail, add things like boat docks, beaches, vegetation, mini builds, buildings, and much, much, much more. But it's definitely a pretty exciting project, and I'm really happy with the progress that we were able to make in this video. Thank you so much for stopping on by. I hope you enjoyed it, and have yourselves a fantastic day. Bye for now.